All this requires finance. And that finance is in serious trouble as well. Because who is going to finance all these activities? So quite initially, there was an agreement that there will be $100 billion finance fund contributed by developed countries, basically countries which have historical legacy. But that I think hardly $20 million or $30 million has come, and not the pledge, complete pledge has not been fulfilled. So that is why it is hanging, because developed countries, they don't want to do that. They are now bringing up an argument that it's beyond their economies to contribute, and then they are showing two things. One is they are saying $100 billion is not enough. In fact, there is an assessment which says, she was mentioning cost, $14 trillion. $14 trillion is one estimate for all adaptation and mitigation efforts which are required. So they are saying $14 trillion is there. What $100 billion is not a big amount, and we can't give anyway. So that's one argument. The other argument they are saying is, let it come from private sector. So not from the governments, not from US, not from EU. They are saying let it be private sector. And that's how markets, businesses are being brought into each of the solutions which are being discussed about. So they are saying that's how finance will come, and that finance will help in the transition. So it could be mitigation or even adaptation. So there the issues again are serious. Now that is where I mentioned solutions, right? False solutions. So one example I'll give you, electric cars. Now in transport, people want to reduce, pollution, eliminate emissions or mitigate emissions. So now electric cars are being projected as electric vehicles as the solution. But then, when private finance is encouraged, usually it went to electric cars. So now you have more production capacity of electric cars than other vehicles. So ultimately what it meant was, you have 100 fossil fuel cars which can be replaced by 100 electric cars. So does it mean it's a just transition? Tell me, is it a justifiable, justiciable transition? Because I think you need to look. You need to look at the globally, how many people own the cars. I leave globally, I don't have data, but if you look at Hyderabad has some 70 lakh vehicles, and leave goods vehicles and all of those, some 30 lakh motorcycles are there, then some 10 lakh to 15 lakh cars are there. But these are owned by maybe 5% or 2% of the population. So the 60 to 70% population, they don't have any vehicles. So when you are saying the transition from fossil fuel car, petrol car or a diesel car to an electric car, that means you are shifting only the fuel. But then the environmental impact of a vehicle, it starts right from its production. So you have material, you have mining, aluminum, steel, then you have plastic. So, and then the roads. Professors have mentioned about road construction. You can see all the new roads are full of cars, and they don't allow any other vehicle to move in that. So overall, if you assess right from the production of a car to usage to once it leaves a junkyard, and then of course tire pollution is again a major impact causing issue. So in that, just one part we are saying from petrol to electric. We are not mitigating car-based emissions completely. So the solution is very small percent. But that is being pushed as a major change. In fact, in Glasgow, when the Glasgow COP happened, the car, they did not build, there was no building in the Glasgow. They built a, tent type of conference room. And for that air conditioning, they said it is renewable, electricity based. So they had huge electric generators. But then they used a diesel in that. So electricity is there, but electricity is produced through what? So you were mentioning solar. If you produce electricity through solar, then it becomes a solution. If you continue to produce electricity from coal or from diesel, then is it a solution? They say it is efficient. That's a new method, they say. This is an efficient way of using diesel or petrol. But that's how the confusion is. In fact, in UK now electric cars are there going around, and in between they stop because the energy is out. So now electric generator, there are businesses, they are going around with electric generators with diesel, and they'll recharge that car, and that car goes back. So this looks, what is it? Foolish? Is it foolishness? Pound foolish. So that when you are talking of private finance, these are the kind of solutions which come up. So in agriculture, agriculture is one of the major contributors of greenhouse gases. Not so much in India, not so much in Africa, but mostly in Western countries because they have industrial agriculture. So there is a recent report which says 47% of emissions is because of diesel used in industrial agriculture. Our farmers they don't use so much diesel. But then there is a brush painted that all agriculture is also emission. Then they'll show you paddy fields, your paddy fields are producing methane. But that methane is coming from, as you mentioned, fertilizers. And that fertilizers are imported. And that technology, green technology, is not our technology. It is pushed down our throats. So now when they are talking of solution, they want to continue this but maintain their business. So now they are talking of climate resilient agriculture, which comes from digital agriculture. She opened her mouth. What's that? Digital agriculture. So digital is use robots, use drones, so remote information collection, and they say, okay, you have a pest and there is a drone which will come, take a photograph, then they'll send that photograph of the pest to a agriculture expert, and they will say, okay, spray pesticide on that, precision spraying, and you can spray it. And once the crop comes, then you can bring a machine which will start harvesting. And because of that harvesting, there will be a crop residue. And that residue gets burned because you need to have another crop. So this is industrial agriculture, and they want to continue that industrial agriculture. And then the solution they are saying is you bring drones, you bring robotics, and you bring automatized machines. But then what about the Indian employment? We have so many people who are unemployed. Labor is there. So when you are talking of finance, climate finance, where private finance is encouraged, they usually take this path where they can find business profits for them. But this is not being discussed at all. That's a problem. So in COP 26, 27, there are treaties which are happening every day. So India, UAE, Morocco, and a few other countries, Saudi Arabia, they entered into an agriculture initiative. A4, I think it's nowadays a lot of abbreviations are there. A4, something. So agriculture for artificial intelligence, something like that. So Saudi Arabia, there are 5 countries which entered into agreement, and the project they started in India. And there is a finance for that. And this finance is shown as part of mitigation or adaptation which has come in. So the finance, the kind of character this finance is taking, I think that's a major worry. And that is why, even though there is an adaptation fund, there is a mitigation fund, and now there is a loss and damage fund, and we had global environment facility. Now we have carbon market mechanisms. So all these are finances, but all these finances are cumulatively pushing for technologies which continue the emissions. That's where they brought a net zero argument. I don't know if you know net zero. Net zero means not zero. It's not zero. Net zero means you release 100 tons of carbon emission and you have something which mitigates that 100 tons of emission. But it is not scientifically proven. Like as I said, in somewhere you generate 100 tons and they say it is mitigated in somewhere else. There is no linkage, there is no, it's only an argument, logical argument. So that's how they brought a net zero. Now you can see everywhere they say net zero. We will reach a point of net zero. Net zero means continuously allow the current state of emissions. And how do they want to arrive at net zero is, now they are saying we have technology, carbon capture technology. So they want to capture carbon from the atmosphere and put it in the ground. So now Bill Gates is funding 2-3 initiatives. He says innovation, where that captures and stores in a old wood, and that wood will be buried under the earth. It looks logical. For them it is business. For us it does not look logical or scientific. So there are many methods where the current global corporations, they want to continue their business using the same argument of mitigation, adaptation, but continue their profit-making enterprises. So India, where is India in this? Where are we within India? One thing we might have read, the entire, emissions, okay, he mentioned the maximum emissions are coming from US. No, actually China has exceeded that. China, US, India. Of course, there are ranks. Leave countries. If you look at the population, is that only 1% or less than 1% uses 60 to 70% of resources, and their lifestyle has more emissions than 70% of the world population. Means only few lakh people are enjoying while crores of people are struggling. So 1% people have the wealth, 1% people have the lifestyle which leads to these emissions, and others' contribution is very low. This, when you apply at a global level, you apply it at Indian level, then you will understand, okay, Bombay, Delhi people, they contribute more to emissions than people in a rural village. We are all part of that. Even we, in Hyderabad, we will be emitting more because we use more resources. So this disaggregation at the population level is important when you are talking of justice, when you are talking of just transition, and we are talking of participation. So that's why when we are saying solutions, which is very important, all of you need to carefully listen and engage with that. Unless you apply these three principles, justice, participation, and equity. Whoever says this is the solution, you apply these three, then you will understand the logic behind that. So all this become, takes time to arrive at a consensus and agreement. So that's a reason we want all of you to learn more. Because just by, what they make you is guilty. After all, listening all this, I think you should start feeling guilty. Or I don't know if you are feeling guilty or not. Are you feeling guilty? Yes? No? You are confident, but not all. I don't think they applied themselves. I'll tell you, all of us wearing clothes, okay? Do you know our clothes contribute to emissions? So now you start feeling guilty what you are wearing and how much emissions you have contributed. Sorry?
Just to engage on the first point you mentioned, the first one, what is wrong if I am using transferring non-point sources, vehicles, pollution spread out of the city, electric charge, coal-fired electric units, they become point source, which I can control the pollution. Proven technology to make it down to 99.99%. Granted the new electric cars will use lithium, ion, cadmium.
No, he was mentioning about what is wrong with point pollution and non-point pollution.
Isn't it better if I...
Yeah. No, in fact, I started, but I moved away from that. When we are talking of electric vehicles, electricity is produced somewhere, right? So the source could be coal, mostly coal, and it could be petrol or diesel. Now when you are shifting to electricity, whether that electricity produced without emissions or reduced emissions, I think that's a question which is before us. That's also from a disaggregated, you have 100 vehicles, right? 100 vehicles are polluting. Now you have made them electricity, so there is no point pollution here. But the pollution is somewhere. But still they are saying this is efficient. So, but my point is, that is there, but even that will increase the emissions, and the inequity in that is there. Whatever.
Using vehicles on a day-to-day, fossil fuel, petrol, diesel, or any kind of liquid gas, using vehicles like that will produce more pollution. But if you are shifting it to electricity, I will not say complete electricity vehicle, because there, as I said, a vehicle can stop in the middle of the road because the electricity is off. But that could also reduce the pollution, sir. ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీకి రోజు ఎలాగో పొల్యూషన్ వస్తుంది. ఒక ఫోన్ ఎక్స్ట్రా ఛార్జింగ్ పెడితే ఎంత పొల్యూషన్ అవుతుందో ఒక వెహికల్ ఛార్జింగ్ పెడితే అంతే అవుతుంది సార్. ఒక ఫోన్ ఎక్స్ట్రా అన్నట్టుగా బెటర్ ఆప్షన్, నాట్ ద పర్ఫెక్ట్ ఆన్సర్, బట్ ఎఫిషియెంట్ వే ఆఫ్ రెడ్యూసింగ్
అని అంటున్నారు. దెర్ ఆర్ no, let me come to that. So even the batteries, sorry, let me. Batteries, battery recycling, batteries are more dangerous. The acid which is used in the battery is also issue. Lithium mining is an issue. All those are there. Apart from that, still what you are saying is, okay, instead of facing a diesel car, I'm facing an electricity car, it reduces. It's accepted at that level. I'm saying at a solution level, that's not a comprehensive solution. So the other solution, there are other methods, like in Hyderabad, we keep saying, instead of electric cars, you bring electric buses. Okay. So that means instead of 50 cars, you have 50 people traveling in an electric bus. So it increased your efficiency, no? So that's how there are solutions. Even your urban residential layout design, where it encourages pedestrianization, cycling. So we have number of options where public transport can be encouraged. So all these are part of mitigation, but they are not discussed because we are fixated on technology. That's what I am bringing. We say this is the technology and this is the fix. And then we'll say, okay, instead of 100, I am doing 70. But you are continuing a system which, he said, no, ambitious. Today we don't have that cushion. Maybe 30 years back you could have said, okay, electric cars you bring, and we have time to reduce other areas. We don't have time now. We need drastic goal. So that means you have to reduce more, faster, and as immediate as possible. So we have number of options, and all of them are not technology related. For example, in fact, COP has never discussed biodiversity. COP has not discussed plastics. COP has not discussed chemicals. They are not discussing all that. But there is now a plastic treaty coming up. Now in the plastic treaty, everyone felt, production has to be reduced because you are now overwhelmed with plastic pollution. But then there is resistance again from fossil fuel companies. So everywhere you go, this fossil fuel companies have become a major barrier. So that's where, they say phase down fossil fuels. I think that's the ambition. When we are saying 1.2 degrees or 1.5 degrees, you have to phase down fossil fuels. And how do you do that? and what is the impact on economy, because it's like whether you are going to stop diesel for a SUV or for a goods transport. It might come to that. So that's where just transition is being discussed about. So my appeal to you is you can keep engaging with this process either through with us or independently on your own groups. There are a number of groups which are working on that. But I will strongly urge you to continue to engage, improve your knowledge, and work on actions. Unless we put pressure, governments will not work anywhere, not only in India, in Telangana, all over the world. So these workshops, basic objective is to bring youngsters into this debate, and I hope we could at least reach out to all of you, and I wish all of you to continue to engage with this for your own sake, and also for people, our innocent people who are in rural areas who are not even aware of what is happening in their lives. So on their behalf also, you need to engage with this. So I stop here. Thank you.